Good evening. I am Mike Meekhof, and this is Meekhof Primetime on M7 Sports. The restrictions put out by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services are, as of right now, set to be lifted on December 20th. Will they be extended past that, though? Probably. But there is a light at the end of this dark and miserable tunnel of 2020. Today, the first COVID-19 vaccines were given in the U.S., with the first being given to an intensive care unit nurse named Sarah Lindsay in Queens, New York. Over the next few months, these vaccines will be given to as many people as possible all over the country, which should draw an end to the pandemic that's affected the way we've all lived our lives since March. Next, I'd like to welcome one of the smartest football minds I know, Mona Shore's offensive coordinator, Aaron James. Thanks for joining us, Coach. How you doing? How you doing?
Okay, gotcha. Yo,
How you doing?
good. What's going on?
So first, I'd like to start out with some current questions about Shore's football program. How have you guys been handling the shutdown, and what things have you guys done virtually to stay connected to one another?
We just been handling it as well as anybody can. It's the uncertainty of knowing what's next. Nobody knows what's gonna happen next or when and where we're gonna be able to play. So with that being said, we just have Zoom meetings once a week where we just check in on the kids and see how they're doing and see their well-being and make sure everybody going to class and doing what they're supposed to be doing outside of their own home life and whatnot, and just make sure everybody taking care of their own bodies and trying to stay as safe as possible.
I know it's probably really bleak right now, but are you guys still preparing like football could come back?
We always tell the kids, man, if you stay ready, you never got to get ready, and it's so much that goes into football more than just lifting weights and running and whatnot. So with that being said, we have huddle, we have film, we have a ton of 9 weeks of games we've played. So you can always watch film and pick up tendencies, pick up notes of other players, other teams, or even yourself going back to game 1 to game 9 and see how you matured and how you got better and what you could have done better in this game or that game. So we tell the kids to do that on top of try to stay active some form, some way, as far as push-ups, sit-ups, burpees, jumping jacks, and you got to always prepare for the unexpected. We don't want to get caught, and like we always say, like growing up, you don't want to get caught with your pants down. Like, okay, we're not going to play. Boom, we got a game. Now we ain't ready. Now I'm 20 pounds out of shape because I didn't think we was going to play until February, next fall. So, like I said, we tell the kids all the time, if you stay ready, you never got to get ready. Always prepare like it's a game next week. And if it's not a game, then keep preparing. We'll play next week. And if it's not a game, then we keep playing. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's just what we tell the kids, man. Make sure you're working out, push-ups, sit-ups. Make sure you're staying safe. Try to keep your distance from people that you're not normally with. If you can get out, take a jog. But if not, do some burpees. Push yourself to the max. You know what your body can be taking and what it can't take.
So what's your outlook on the shutdown right now? What do you think are the chances of football coming back?
Coming back, I know I'm stuttering on words. As of right now, we know it's over for 2020. So best case scenario, what? Play in the spring? But like, I don't know, man. I've been talking to my wife, and me and Matt talk all the time. And I say, I don't know how people are going to look at it, because if it was the other way around, if we would have lost in round 1 and the team gets to go. So say for example, we play in April, right?
Yeah.
So when do we start practice? March? February?
I don't know, honestly.
Right.
I think it looks bleak, but I mean, what Mark Ewell showed so far is he's willing to do everything, but I don't think it'll happen, but I think he'll try everything he can.
I don't think it'll happen either, but like I say, you got to prepare like it's going to happen. But this is my take on it. Boom, we play April. First game, April, regional finals, April 15th, whatever you want to put it at. Okay. So what does that do to the spring sports? Now you come forward. Okay, you guys playing April. We haven't played since November. So we give you guys a month to practice and get everything ready. Okay, what about the schools that didn't make the playoffs that lost? We're basically getting a jump on 2021 by extra practices and extra games and whatnot. Now, what happened if we go to the state championship and win the state championship? So we've been practicing for a month. On top of that, we got 3 extra weeks of practice. So
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
I never thought
My
about
thing
that,
is
to be
this.
honest.
Yeah, so you get the now you got the jump on. Now you got the people say, well, it affects the the next season. What if somebody get hurt? What if nobody get hurt? And what if everybody gets bigger, faster, stronger? Now we win a state championship at the end of April. Boom, we state champs. Now we get 2 months off, and we now come game 1 of 2021. We in rare form. We already had 3 games on top of a month of practice, on top of summertime and 7-on-7 and this, that, and the third. But with all that being said, I hope we do get to play because I think we got a good team and we are defending state champs. So I would like to get a chance to win again or keep playing till somebody beats us, you know?
Yeah, maybe they could give everybody like the chance to practice, or at least like have like so many practices that they can have during that time.
I was thinking of that. You know what's funny behind that, man, is when I was in college, because when I went to school in South Dakota and I was in college, and a lot of my teammates would talk, and we used to talk about when you started playing football and how long you've been playing football. And I say, man, I've been playing football since I was 6. I played little league tackle football, and some of my teammates said, well, I didn't play until I was in 8th grade, and well, how do y'all do for high school? I say, well, high school, well, we come in the summertime, we have a condition, and then we play. They say, y'all don't do spring ball? I'm like, spring ball? What's spring ball? And they was like, well, we get like spring ball down south, like in March, basically like college. I'm like, oh, that's why a lot of time the Southern players be ahead of the curve because they've been playing football for so. But then again, it's also the weather's better down south and in the West Coast, so those are things that we can't control in Michigan. We can't have spring ball in March and it's 27 degrees outside.
Yeah, I agree with that. So now I want to get the audience to know you a little. So let's go over, some questions about you. What was it like getting to play at Muskegon under Coach Taylor back in the 90s?
What was it like? What you mean? Growing up, man, I got 3 older brothers that played for Muskegon. I've always been a big Red fan. So as a kid, you like can't wait to play varsity football. You hear about Coach Taylor was this mean, stern coach and this, that, and tough, hard-nosed coach. So me having 3 older brothers, I had already had like not expectation, but I had already knew what to expect getting up to the high school level and understanding like you couldn't walk on Wilson. You can't wear this. You can't do that. You got to make sure you're in practice. Once you cross this fence, you got to have this done. So I had already knew what to expect, and I was looking forward to it because, like I say, I got 3 older brothers, and I've always been a Big Red fan. So I couldn't wait to get to high school to play for Coach Taylor, because he was a legendary coach. So just even have a chance to play under his tutelage I was looking forward to.
So how much different was high school football, you think, back when you played compared to today, as far as recruiting, how much work you put in, like all that type of stuff?
Oh, it's night and day, man, because like I say, when I played, it was – hold on a second. What's up? No, it's okay. You got to train with the mask on?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Let me get you on. So my thing is when I played, man, it was show up in August, 2 weeks of conditioning. You have 1 week you have a red and white scrimmage. The next week we used to scrimmage Grand Haven and Holland West Ottawa. Then the following week was the 3-way scrimmage. Then the following week was the first game. So basically we had like 4-5 weeks before game 1. But it was no off-season training. That was just more so guys to get together with their friends and say, it's 4, 5, 10, you got time. Guys to get together with their friends and say, let's stay at the school and lift weights. But it was nothing that was mandatory that we had to do and was expected of us to do. It was just like, hey, if you want to stay out there and lift some weights, you can stay out there and lift some weights. But besides that, just show up ready to play in August. And then we'll learn everything we got to learn 2 days and the 5 weeks leading up to the game. So now it's totally different because now basically football is basically 365 days a year. You know,
Yeah.
everybody training year round. Is more 7-on-7 camps. And we had those when I was in high school, but they weren't as big and as pushed as they are now. And I mean by that, it really wasn't college 7-on-7. It was more so locals. Like we used to go to Oak Ridge and throw it. We went to Fruitport and threw, and different schools like that. But it was nothing like we do now. Like, let's go to Michigan State, and let's go to Notre Dame, and let's go to this 7-on-7 tournament. So, and that's with anything, man. Over time, everything grows and it gets bigger, and more money is put into it, and more people watching. And so it's night and day from when I played now.
So you went to college at Dakota Wesleyan, graduated, and then you played some football overseas. You know, what was that experience like, and what was it like getting to, live in Europe?
Mike, hold on 1 second, Mike. I'm dropping my daughter for gymnastics. What you need? A mask. This mask don't fit.
The old ones are too tight.
Oh, here you go.
Thank you.
You got your coat?
Yeah.
All right, put your coat on. Huh? You do need your coat going in.
Yeah, but I'm gonna be.
I mean, you could take your coat off once you get inside.
No, but
Man, put your coat on.
Thank you. This one.
Put your coat on. Oh, I got unlock it for you. I get it out. Hold on, Mike. 1 second. I gotta let you out. And then I'll be right back. I'm finna run to the store and get some gas. I'll be right back. Let your sister sleep. All right. I know. All right, go ahead. Let me see. All right, I'm back now.
All right.
Now, what you say? Now, my experience as far as college or overseas?
Overseas, like what was it like living in Europe? What were some things that you got to experience over there?
Oh man, I loved it. I loved living overseas. Actually, man, it was fun times, man. It was. I experienced the culture everywhere I went. And I've always been big on stuff like what's the saying they say? When in Rome, do as the Romans do, or something like that. You ever heard that slogan?
Oh yeah,
you probably have. Hello.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. I'll put you on. My fault. I gotta put you to. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I was when I went. Every country I went to, like for example, in what was it? 05, 06. 06, I went to Denmark. Never been to Denmark. Never really heard about it. So I get to Denmark, and it's a total different atmosphere. They speak Danish, and the thing was, since Danish isn't like a national language, everybody knew English. So that was the easy part. So what I did when I was there, it was like I'm living like I'm here. So I'm just gonna live like a Danish person. I ate what they eat. I tried all the foods they had, and I went to all the nightclubs, and I partied. So every country that I went to, I tried to like live like a local. Basically, I didn't want to say, well, I'm from America. I want to go to McDonald's, or I'm used to this. I want to go to KFC. I didn't want anything to do with Americanized when I was overseas. So I really enjoyed my time. Like I was in Denmark in 06. I went to France in 07. I stayed in the mountains in France. So that was really nice. I don't know if you ever heard of everybody heard of Avion Water.
Actually, I haven't.
Avion the water?
No, I haven't heard
the brand, of it. The water brand. You never heard Avion?
Avion? I don't think so.
Yes, it's a water. When I show you the bottle, you're like, oh yeah, I've drunk that before. Anywho,
yeah, probably.
I stayed in the town 5 minutes away was like the company, the water company and whatnot. So that was cool. So in France, and so in 2007, I stayed in France. In 2008, I lived in Switzerland. In 2009, I went back to Switzerland. That was the only country that I went back to back. And that was kind of like planned. I'll go back to that in a second. And then in 2010, I played in Norway. And then my wife now currently was my girlfriend at the time. She got pregnant, and I came home after that. In 2010, when I came home, she got pregnant, and the rest is history. My child was born, and I just stayed here. But like all that was planned, because every country that I went to we made it to the national championship. We played in the finals, and some we won, some we lost. So I had the option to go back to those teams the next year. But after I got that initial, like my feet wet and went to the country and played, I wanted to go to every country that I could to, one, visit the world and travel and see different parts of the world, and two, play different brands of football, because every country had different style of football. Every football wasn't the same. Like in Denmark, for example, that country was super fun, but the football, if I had to give it a grade, it probably was C+. France, for example, the country wasn't that fun. I had fun, but it wasn't like Denmark. Denmark was more people friendly, out and about, clubs, people out walking around. France was more like laid back. People was real reserved. You know, it was parties, but it wasn't like crazy parties. But the football was like an A-. It was like, holy man. Well, A+ actually, because I played against a ton of guys that played like Power 5 football, or I played against a team from Paris that had 9 guys that had NFL experience. So I'm playing against these guys, and it was real deal football as coming from Denmark, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and going back to what you said earlier, like I agree with that. Like whenever I go somewhere, I don't just get like regular fast food place. Like I'll find out whatever's the best like local restaurants around there, and I want to try new food and new, you know, like when I go to Hawaii, listen, I want to have a bunch of seafood.
You want to be like the Hawaiians. You want to live like the local race. But you'll be amazed, man, because I've had like, for example, me and my brother played again in Denmark, and he was kind of like, oh man, I don't want to try this, I don't want to try that. But then he got away from it. But next year I was in France, and I had a teammate. He was from Chicago, and he was like, man, I ain't paying this amount for that. I'm not eating that. So we'd go out to eat, and like, we gonna be here for 7 months, man. I don't know anything on the menu. I can't read it. I'm just like, man, we're gonna be here for 7 months. We already ate lunch, so I got some lunch back at the room. We eating dinner right now. I'm just gonna try this, and I just point down on and then it'll come out, and they'll tell me what it is after, like somebody come translate and tell me what it is. But I eat it and try it, and then if it's nasty, I just know not to get that one again. But if it's good, I'm going back to that one. But he was like, nah, I just stick with pizza. He'll get a pizza or a hamburger. I'm like, dude, man, we're not in the States anymore, man. Won't you put your guards down and just try some different things? So I did that everywhere I was at, man. Every country I went to, I've done that. That was like, for example, that's the first time I've ever eaten escargot. You know what that is, right?
I feel like I've heard of it. I can't picture it right now.
Escargot is snail.
Oh yeah, I actually had that when I was in Louisiana.
So I go there and we go out to eat. It's me and the president of the team, and we go out to eat. This is France. We had some nice restaurant, and they get something. They're like escargot. I'm like, now keep in mind it's 07. So I'm what, 25. So they escargot using these food words. I'm like, man. So when the food come out, I see it. I'm like, man, what is that? And they're like, oh, it's escargot. I'm like, what is escargot? They're like, oh, it's snail. I'm like snail, like with a shell snail. They're like, yeah. I'm like, no, I'm straight. I'm straight on that. I'm good to go. They're like, oh man, you got to try it, man. At least just try it once, man. You in France, blah. I'm like, you know what? You're right. So I end up trying it, and oh man, it was so good. And I end up trying it because it come out as like like an appetizer. So I tried it, and it was good. I ate it, and then I got another serving of it, and then I've eaten it quite more times since then. But it was fun times, man. It was fun times. It helped me grow as a man. You know, it helped you value the things that we have in America, but it also make you look at the world different because, like I say, I was over there for 5 years. I was in Denmark, France, Switzerland for 2 years, in Norway, and it was one person it was one violent act, and that was in Denmark. It was a boxer dude, some local boxer, like made it big or whatnot, and he came home and he was talking like super crazy to somebody outside the club one time, and they killed him. Like he got stabbed or whatnot. But That was the only violence the whole time I was there. I never witnessed any racism. I never witnessed any violence. I didn't see that. That just was on the news, you know?
Yeah, and
So
it seems
I
like
was,
it's more
I,
peaceful, like in some of the other countries, than it is here, to be
it,
honest. Even though,
it really was laid back and fun and peaceful. And it was like, go to work, do your job, go home, relax, party, repeat.
in
And it was like not frowned upon.
my experience with escargot was actually almost the exact same as yours. I was in New Orleans, Louisiana. You know, I was visiting my aunt, and she took me out to this nice restaurant, and you know, she knew the owner, so we got like a sample of almost everything they had, like just a little bit. And so the main plate was steak with escargot, and I'm like, and I just look at that and push it to the side, and the owner's like, "Do you realize that those little snails are worth more than that steak?" And I'm like, "You're serious?" Yeah, and I'm like, "All right, I guess I'll try it." And it was really good. And I will say, New
Yeah,
Orleans probably got the best food, to be honest, out of everywhere I've been.
yeah, that you've been, you know, and that's the
Yeah,
thing though. Like I've been all over, man. You know, I've been so many places that I've eaten so many places, and like I say, I've opened up to eat basically almost anything that I've tried so much stuff that I've been places like, man, that food was delicious. And I've also been places that was supposed to be in high scale, and like, nah, that food really wasn't that good, you know. Like I used
uh,
to go, like I had teammates, man. I had teammates. We used to always go out after our wins in France and in Denmark, especially in France. We used to go out all the time, and we used to go to different restaurants, different places to eat. So, and like I say, I'm in another country. I'm at different restaurants. I'm trying something different, and I eat all type of stuff, man. And it helps you grow as a person just to try things. And, you know, it was fun 2 minutes. And like I try to tell you guys, and I tell people all the time, you know, life is about making memories and enjoying life, you know? So, worst case scenario, when I went overseas and I've been to all them places, I got friends that I still talk to and communicate with that I played with over there. And I've always been in them places. And if I ask anybody that's traveling abroad, they ask where to go, I tell them, you should go here, you should go there. I've seen this, I've seen that. I've been to the Eiffel Tower. I've seen like the Little Mermaid. I've been a bunch of places when I went, because not only did I play in those countries, but I've also visited other countries that was close by. Because I don't know if you know how Europe is structured, but we would sometimes, like when France, I was in France and we went to a Puff Daddy and Snoop Dogg concert. And it was in Switzerland, but it was like 2 hours south. So then we go there and we party and we have a good time. Then we jump back on the train and go back to our, and then 2 years, and then a year later, I was in Switzerland and I was 45 minutes away from where I went to the concert at. And then in Switzerland, I was 2 hours north of Italy, or then I was 45 minutes west of Austria. Then I was 15 minutes away from Liechtenstein. Then I was 2.5 hours away from Germany. So it was times like we won't have any games this week, or I got a free time, and I would just jump in the car and just take a trip. So
yeah.
it was
That's
fun
all.
times, man.
That's all really interesting. You know, I always love hearing stories from you because you've experienced so much. But let's get back to when you came back to the Muskegon area. What drew you to the Shores job when Coach Koziak offered it to you?
Oh, you know, man, during that whole time I had coached and I had played and I had coached 2 years at Muskegon Heights. And I've coached 2 years there. And then I just was chilling. I was actually relaxing, man, doing nothing. And then called me. Coach Anise called me and asked me to come coach with him at GRCC. And this is right when I came from Norway, so it was like 2010. He asked me to come coach him at GRCC. I said, okay, cool. So I go to coach at GRCC with Coach Anise, and I asked him what he want me to coach. He's like, I want you to coach linebackers. I'm like, Coach Anise, man, I'm an officer guy, man. I never really played. Like, yeah, it's all right, man. I'll teach you and I'll coach you up. I'm like, all right, which is cool. But then he was like, you just got back from overseas. I'm like, man, listen,
and this was me and my girlfriend, and I live in Whitehall. I'm like, I can't be driving from Whitehall to Grand Rapids every day without some form of money or something. Keep in mind, like this 2010, so I'm still kind of young, so I ain't thinking of the grand scheme, the bigger picture. Like, let me get on staff with him. We'll be here for a couple of years, and then X, Y, Z. I was like, nah, man. I got a girlfriend. She's pregnant. I can't be driving back and forth like that. I'm gonna have to turn it down. He's like, all right, I understand, because I had stayed like a week or two. Then Matt called me, Kozak called me, and he offered me the job. And I never looked at it like, oh, all right, let me wear it out. I'm on the shorts. I just always wanted to coach, man. I don't care. Like, me and you talk all the time, and I tell you all the time, I coach this school, I coach that school, and you always laugh at me like, man, you a coach this school? I really don't care about the school, man. I just want to coach football, because schemes beat X's and O's any day. Not any day, sorry, but sometimes you can scheme up. Now, sometimes you got this dude just way better than me. I'm going to lose, but if I scheme up the right type of scheme, then we'll give ourselves a chance. So I said it to say this. When he offered me the job at Shores and talked to me about Shores, I didn't have any look like, oh, man, Shores never been to the playoffs. They this, they that. I was just like, you know what? I ain't coaching right now. I don't have a job coaching. Sure, I'll do it. I had a couple questions. I asked him. He's like, yeah. And once he agreed to my terms on what I asked the questions, I was like, I'm all in. It didn't even take me 24 hours.
So did you guys always think you could turn it around from the minute you got there, or was it like kind of shaky?
I always look at the glass half full. So when I seen it and I seen some of the players we had, I'm like, oh, we're gonna be good year. And then Matt was like, man, I don't know, man, by year one, I don't know we're ready yet. And then we had a bad season. But then we're coming back and kept going. I'm like, oh man, we're gonna be. So I knew at some point it'd turn around. I didn't think it'd be as fast as it was, but I knew at some point it'd turn around, because I've seen, after a while, just like with any new coach, a lot of the bad seeds start quitting and not playing and not coming out. Guys that I had never coached, but they talked about, well, he played last year, he was a starter. He played this year, he was a starter. But then once we got there, I'm like, what happened to him? They're like, oh, he quit. He don't want to play. So like, all right, forget it. So we'll roll with the kids that want to come with us. And then once that like kind of took over, and then on top of, we had Asante and Marquand and Logan Smith and Tari, and the players start buying in, and then we started winning games. Then we went from 1-8 till we go 4-0. Then we had Muskegon. We had a good game with Muskegon. We lost, but then we end up going 4-5. But it was already set in stone after that. And then the next year we went 7-3. Then the next year we went 12-2, and then the rest is where we at now. So long story short, I knew it was going to turn around. I just didn't know it was going to be that fast.
And, if you were to focus on one key, what do you think was the biggest one to turning it around?
One key, the biggest key to turn it around. The biggest key to turn it around is accountability.
So last question. What was your favorite game to play in during your career, and what was your favorite game to coach in during your career?
The favorite game to play in my career? Oh, man. I play a lot of football, man. I've been all over the world playing football. So my favorite game to play in, hold on, you got to give me a second to think about that one. I've had some, that's a tough one, man. Yeah, I can break it down. Let me see. I can try to break it down in sections. Like youth league, my favorite game was always playing the Labor Bowl. That was always the biggest game. Labor Bowl, Soul Bowl. I don't know if you know what that is. That's Fort City versus Heights. We used to play game one. Labor Bowl was game one at Muskegon High School. So that was always my favorite growing up youth league. Middle school, Steele versus Bunker. That was a big game all the time. High school, my favorite game to play in was what was the funnest game we played in? Funnest game we played in was you want to know the funnest game I played in?
Yeah, like like you look back on the memories, and that's the one that you sticks out the most.
Oh, okay, I got you. So high school, it had to be it had to probably be one of our games against Ottawa Hills. my senior year against Ottawa. We played Ottawa Hills, and that was a hell of a game because they had a good team that year, and we ended up beating them. But it was a weird, crazy type of game. And then collegiately, you wouldn't know none of them games. We had some good games, but then overseas was probably one of my funner games. And you look back on that game, and that had to be. It was like a semifinal game, man, and we ended up winning like I think 14-10. And this is when I was in Denmark. So I played with the team I played with had never been to the national championship. So keep in mind, it's me and my older brother playing. And we playing them, and they had rules where it's going to be 2 Americans on the field at a time and just then the third. So we playing this team, and they was picked. We beat them early in the season, but they was picked to beat us, and they was bigger, better team than us on paper. And we playing them, man, and my brother kicking butt. And then I had a couple plays. So we put him on offense. But me and my brother work out together all the time. So we tell the coach, I'm like, man, coach, listen, put Hosey at receiver, and I got to play. He's like, all right, man, go ahead, run it. I said, so I look at Hosey, I tell him in the huddle, I say, if he playing this coverage, you run this. If he up on you and I shake my head, you run right past him. He's like, bet. So I come to the line of scrimmage, I scan the field, we look at each other, and I shake my head, and we both shook our head like simultaneously right at each other. I drop back, and I could just hear him yell, let it rain. And I just cocked it back, man. I must have threw it probably 65, 70 yards, and it just dropped right in it. It like dropped right out the sky. Anywho, that was the game-winning touchdown. It wasn't like, game over, but we ended up stopping them with like a minute left, and that touchdown was the touchdown that took us to the championship. So that's one of my favorite games right there as a professional.
Man, what about coaching-wise?
Oh, you say coach? Oh, man. Oh, we got some great games coaching.
I think I know what it is, but I'll let you tell everybody.
I mean, I don't know if you know what it is because, we won a state championship last year. So that might be one.
Wall Lake game.
No, see, because that Wall Lake game, that was a good game, but that was more of a, man, what's going on? Because if you remember, the game, yeah. But if you remember the game, at one point it was 28-14, and we had the ball. And we got the ball. It was like 28-14 or 21-7.
Did someone fumble?
Yeah, we fumbled. Then they scored. Then they ran a kickoff back. So going into halftime, we should have been up 21, and we was up by 7. So I was more so looking at that like, man, this game is not even supposed to be this close.
Or what about Farmington, though? I mean, some could argue you guys shouldn't have won that, knowing that 2 of your quarterbacks were out.
Now, see, and that's another thing, man. Now that goes back. Now, hindsight, what you asked me about coaching, and you know how well we do. We coach everybody up at all times because you never know when somebody got to go in the game. Now, he might not get a ton of reps in team at quarterback, but like Elijah was the quarterback, and he used to do strip work and do everything like all the other quarterbacks, like Tyree, Tribe, everybody did. Now, come team, Tyree and Tribe got all the reps, but so when his number was called, plus we knew what type of kid he was, Elijah, and I can tell you this because you would know Elijah, you don't know him, but he is more of a kind of like Landon is. Yeah. Like he was even keel. He could play quarterback, slot, receiver, strong safety, linebacker, kickoff, kick return. Now, he might not be the best at none of it, but he's really good at all of them. So when we put him in at quarterback, it wasn't like, oh, my gosh, Elijah. And it was like, all right, Elijah, he know what to do. Let's play football. Because that's funny you asked that, man, because think about this. And I know you was young. We was playing in the semifinals, first time ever in a semifinal with a third-string quarterback, and we threw a pass. Most teams won't even throw passes. Most teams won't even throw passes with their backup quarterback. We threw a pass with our third-string quarterback, man, and it was a touchdown. But nobody was like going crazy it was crazy that we won, but nobody was going crazy like, oh my God, he did it, because he do it in practice all the time. But Wall Lake was one of my favorite games, though, man. Truthfully, one of my favorite games. The state championship was a really good one. But one of my favorite games when we went to Muskegon and beat Muskegon at Hackley, Tyree senior year. because that was a truly, like, we scored 50 points and it was jam packed. And like I'm from Muskegon, so I've never seen Hackley Stadium from the other side. So when you look, I'm in a box, but when I came down and you look at that was the first time playing, and the second time, sorry. You see all them fans, and we won, and like our little bitty crowd section was like going crazy, and like all they fans were like dejected. It was sweet, man. That was sweet. But my favorite game was the state championship. Them two games is 1A, 1B, but nothing tops winning a state championship, regardless how good the game was. To hoist that trophy and finally be crowned state champs, that was number one to me.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. Always great to talk to you, and I hope you guys get a chance to finish it out. Really appreciate it. Best of luck.
Yeah, man, no doubt, man. Anytime, man. Anytime. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Have a good week.
All right, take it easy. Yeah, you too, man.
So next, we'd like to welcome former Muskegon and current Bowling Green defensive lineman Jordan Porter. Thanks for joining us. How you been doing? Sorry to keep you waiting. We had Coach James on forever.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. I appreciate it, though.
Yeah, how you been doing?
I've been good. I'm back home now. Season's over, so I'm doing pretty good.
So talk about how your freshman year's been. What were some things you felt like you improved on?
I felt like I improved on a lot of things. Like, college football is way different than high school football. So, I mean, just like the little technique issues, like get off, your hand placement, hand work, like the little things that I learned a little bit in high school, but manifested to a higher level in college. And then like managing time with like football in school, I had to manage that more better in college. I just learned a lot of things in my first semester, and I'm going to continue to learn more things.
Were you surprised at all how much you got to play right away as a freshman?
Yeah, pretty much. When I was being recruited, I was told that the good thing is I'm going to have to play right away. The bad thing is I'm going to have to play right away, because being a developmental type guy and having to come in and play as a freshman right away, and then especially during this COVID thing where I didn't really get an off season, didn't really get a camp, a whole fall camp. So I wasn't able to develop and get stronger as I wanted to, but I was pretty surprised that I got as much playing time as I did.
So how hard was the transition between high school football and college? How different did the speed of the game feel?
It was faster tempo. I remember in practice, just the speed and tempo of offenses is just so much. Like, you get tired. You have to be really in shape to play Division I football, because the tempo of offenses is so fast, as well as the strength for offensive linemen. Playing me as a freshman, being a true freshman, playing against 26-year-old fifth-year seniors and things like that. The speed and strength of the game is way different than the high school.
You guys were a really young team, from the beginning. So how much did that hurt not having that summer, to develop and get you and some of the other guys ready?
It hurt a lot. Coach used to always talk about how we didn't get no spring ball. You had 2 practices of spring. So all the young guys who early enrolled, they didn't even get to really develop as much. And we were starting to become pretty good during the spring and get better. But then COVID hit, so we had to leave. And then coming in the summer and not really being able to, play ball or lift as much and do all that things to develop and get more better, it took a toll on us. But like you said, we're pretty young. We didn't get a really fall camp a whole summer just to get into it and be ready for it. So that really took a hurt on us, and it shows.
So were the COVID restrictions in Ohio different at all compared to Michigan?
I want to say not really. Recently when Whitmer closed down Michigan, what was it, a couple weeks ago, Ohio just they didn't shut down. We just had a curfew, everything closed before 11 or something like that. I don't remember, but we didn't really close down. So it was kind of different, but not much.
And what advice would you give young people, that dream to go D1 like you and so many others have, from around Muskegon?
Just work hard. That's really like you to play Division I football. You really gotta love the game, and you gotta have heart for it and effort and all things like that. Like you can't just everybody like our coach always says. You want to be a beast. You want to go D1. You want to do this and that. But are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing to do the things that get you to that level, get you to that person? And if you don't, then it's not for you. But if you're about it, work hard. School is major important because you don't get your schoolwork done, you get suspended, you get um, restricted, all those types of things. So you really got to handle your schoolwork. You got to work hard and just believe in yourself, really.
So I asked this question to a lot of my guests, because a lot of my viewers are interested in this, and it's a different answer for almost everyone. But what do you feel like your best high school football memory was, between when you played at Catholic and when you played at Muskegon?
I had a lot of good memories because, I played at Catholic. I played at Muskegon. My freshman year at Catholic was pretty fun. We were undefeated. We played in a snowstorm game. We won the state championship, my only state championship. And winning that as a freshman, you like go into your sophomore season, your junior season, thinking like, let's go win another one. So that really pumped me up for the rest of my high school career after that state title one run my my freshman year at Catholic. And then probably Muskegon, our DeWitt game my senior year in the semifinals. That game was intense. It was probably the most intense game I've ever been a part of, going back and forth. And then Cam getting that last second touchdown and then that last second stop on defense, that was pretty intense and that was pretty fun actually. So that was a pretty good memory.
So what are your biggest goals for the next 4 years at Bowling Green?
Just to improve, continue to improve, and playing as much as I did as a freshman, and talking to my coaches, like the sky's the limit, I feel, for me. And if I keep working, getting big, get stronger, get faster, I feel like I'd be an all-conference player, all-MAC player, and possibly a draft pick, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I hope so, and thanks so much for joining us, Jordan. We really appreciate it. Best of luck going forward. I know you got big things in your future.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no problem.
All right.
So in closing tonight, I want to reflect on how much we took for granted and things we can learn to appreciate when we go back to normal. Just think about where you were last year, December 2019. I mean, how much more could you do that it was simple, but you didn't think about it that much. Like, how easy was it to go to the movies? How easy was it to go bowling? How easy was it to go to a huge party? How easy was it to go to a football game? How easy was it to play football? I mean, all those things aren't available to us right now. And I hope all of you guys can learn to appreciate everything going forward. And I know for damn sure I won't ever take anything for granted again, because tomorrow's never guaranteed. And, the facts are anybody could wake up and not be here tomorrow. But we just all need to stay thankful for everything we have, count our blessings, and take advantage of every day you have. We'll have another episode on Wednesday, so please stay tuned to M7 Sports. And as always, thanks for watching. Stay safe, and please keep the faith. We're getting back to normal soon.